Welcome to Trust in the Force, where we deep dive into every nuance of the Star Wars universe. In today's episode, that's right, today's episode, we're setting our sights on two monumental pieces of storytelling: the raw, transformative prison arc from Andor Season 1, and just dropped today, the new Season 2 trailer and some of the pulse quickening revelations, the revolution of revelations for the new Season 2 trailer. And joining me is my co-host in crime, Mr. Vactor,
Hello
and
there.
straight from the Dads of the Future cast, he is the one and only sexiest Star Wars fan I know, Schaffman.
This is where the fun begins, folks.
Big Papa
yeah.
Shaw.
Yes.
Happy
So
to be
before-
here. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're so excited. Nothing like a good Trust in the Force podcast that blends recapping something we love and talking about something that just dropped on the internet and broke it today. So strap in, power up your holo projectors, and join us as we explore these game-changing moments. Let's trust in the Force and get to it. So before we get into Season 1's prison arc breakdown, we got to talk about the Season 2 trailer. It just dropped today. I got to tell you, the song was the best part of it. The Revolution Starts Now by, what's the guy's name again?
Steve Earle.
Steve Earle. That is now on my Spotify playlist. It should be on yours. So very exciting. And yeah, that's all I have to say. The music was great. About what
That song,
Go ahead.
that song actually was, I don't know if you looked at a little bit of the lyrics or anything or the background, but that song was originally written for the second Bush term, the George W. So that's what it is in response to. So it kind of fits like where this is going to.
Fool me once, shame on you.
It's like symmetry. It rhymes, or what does he say? Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, what George Lucas said something, but it doesn't. It's like it didn't. It's not like a
It's like-
perfect quote.
He says it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah,
Well-
that trailer was fantastic. I loved it.
Schaff, kick us off, man. Dive in. I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I've been so excited about Andor. I would say in terms of Star Wars shows on TV, in terms of writing, in terms of like its overall like production, I think it's the best. Honestly, like, yes, Mandalorian gets a lot of attention as being like the best Star Wars TV show, but I would argue that Andor is better written, better performed, and is a more polished show overall from start to finish, because I think it has a very clear vision, and that like the showrunner, the writing, all of it's very consistent. And so like because of that, I've been so excited about season 2, and then knowing that how well it leads into Rogue One, I'm like, this is going to be so much fun, like, to see this. And so seeing the trailer today was freaking awesome, and it really just got me excited for what's to come. And then seeing that they had dropped like the episode a release schedule, and seeing that it's being dropped in triplets, I'm just so thrilled that we don't have to wait like a week between episodes. We get a nice chunk at each time, and Disney Plus has kind of been doing that lately with various shows, and I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, the change in how they're releasing this stuff. Because my business mind, my business hat comes on, and I start thinking about this is all about, subscriber retention and things like that. But what stood out to me, and Vactor and I were talking about this earlier, was the marquees of the quotes from the different
Yeah.
sites that really echoed how wonderful the first season of Andor was and is. And we're obviously going to talk about that when we talk about the prison arc later. But it's like, I think it really echoed how we all feel. I mean, Vactor, we said this on the last couple of Trust in the Force episodes, where it's like, I don't know how Stellan Skarsgård didn't get an Emmy for this.
Yeah.
Like his
It's
character.
crazy.
It's frustrating to me. And like you sent me a text showing that I think it was Variety has him listed as one of the top 85 TV characters of like the decade or something. I mean, think about how many shows and things like that have come up over, that period of time in 10 years. He's 85 out of 100. I mean, I know he's not like number one, but I mean, still, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. This was the top 100 greatest TV performances of the 21st century. So you're talking about the century of television, and for him to get 85, there's no other Star Wars performance on the list. So that's pretty good. And this show has been racking up the critic accolades, like you said, on the marquees in between the shots. Everything is like critics love this show. It's just audiences, I don't think, flock to it like Shaw said, like to Mandalorian, where Grogu is everywhere. You see lunchboxes, toys,
Yeah.
and it feels like the pop culture imprint of Mandalorian is deep, but Andor, it's more like for us, like real hardcore Star Wars fans, and then critics are loving Andor. But I think this trailer does a lot to pull in those people who thought the first season was boring or slow or wasn't Star Wars. All of those people, I think this trailer is specifically aimed at them, and it is a fantastic trailer.
Hmm.
I don't know if the season is gonna be like that because it's quite a departure from the first season of Andor, but if you wanna get butts in seats, the music was great, the cuts were great, the shots were great, and then it's kinda emphasizing the action, so there's no, like, slow moments, and then interspersed in between those, "Hey, guys, the critics loved it.
Yeah.
This show was great if you didn't watch season 1." So
They're
I
like,
think
why the heck did you sleep on this one? What's
yeah.
wrong with you? And honestly, anybody who says that Andor is not Star Wars is not a true Star Wars fan. That's my hot take. It doesn't have to have a magical force, doesn't have to have lightsabers to be Star Wars. In fact, I think this show is the most Star Wars because you can't have Star Wars without the rebellion. You can't have that whole concept of an evil empire and what it takes to overthrow something of that size. It's not just Jedi who do that. It's not just Luke, it's not Han Solo. Like, their stories are important, but I think the tiny, like the little people, the ones that are on the ground doing like the guerrilla warfare, like, Saw Gerrera or his faction and all the other rebel cells that are working together but separate. Like, that's the interesting story, because that's really how you dismantle something so large and amorphous as the empire is. Like,
One
and
of the
so I think
best
like that's a
lines
fascinating story.
one of the best lines we talked about in our previous episodes was, when Andor looks at Luthen and says, "What do you mean? You just walk in there. They don't look at you, they don't talk to you. They're so arrogant, like writing is so good. It's so great. What I'm most excited about this season, and we got to move on to what I'm most excited about this season, what this trailer showed for me is it shows the time jumps that
Yes.
they
Yeah.
sort of they said that this season narratively every, it'd be a group of 3 episodes and each chunk would be a jump in time. And I'm really excited about that. I think narratively, that's really neat. You don't see a lot of scripted TV doing that. And I think what's really cool about Andor, just in general, and you picked up on the production scale, just in the action beats and all that from the trailer. I'm really into like Yellowstone and Landman and like the Taylor Sheridan universe and stuff like that. And one thing that I love about that show is even though it's a drama that's rooted in these characters and what's going on, the scale of the show, like in the season 2 premiere of 1923, like they spend basically like a minute and a half of like these beautiful shots of mountains to really like engross you into this environment, of where these people are and the time that they're in. And I love that about the Andor show is that it really puts us into the situation, of what's going on. And that to me is Star Wars. So to your point, Schaff, those who don't think Andor is Star Wars, I just think they're crazy because it is. Like it is the Civil War, you know?
Yeah.
And okay, we're not getting the Battle of Gettysburg, right? The big stuff. We're getting more of the Battle of Antietam, but it still all has like weight in the story of the Civil War, you know? Uh,
100%.
and
I
so
think it's kind of like Hamilton. Like, everyone loves Hamilton
mhm,
because it's about these characters and sort of how they're starting a revolution, but you're seeing it from like the personal, like interpersonal experiences and relationships within people. And Andor is doing that too. And it works on a musical, but and something as big as a Broadway musical is, but for whatever reason, Star Wars fans won't accept it, or at least some won't, because it doesn't have the Force, it doesn't have lightsaber battles and Jedi and the Sith.
I
And
don't
I'm just
know.
like,
I'm
that's unfortunate.
convinced. I'm convinced Mandalorian would not have been successful if it wasn't for Grogu. I think I
Ooh,
really truly
yeah.
believe this, and maybe we save this for a podcast for another day, and I'll tease it here. But I think Baby Yoda was so compelling. It's like, whoa, what? There's another one, and it looks like Yoda, and it's a baby, and it's cute, and it's funny, and what is all this? Like that was the hook, and it was a chess piece that worked because if it didn't work, it would have been Jar Jar Binks, right? But it wasn't. It was what drew the non-Star Wars fans into Mandalorian, and it was like I remember it was written everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. Social media, articles, it was Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda. And then it was, and I mean, my kids have the stuffed animal. You know what I mean? So it's like that was what I think propelled Mandalorian into what it was. But you can
Mhm.
see the point of diminishing returns has already happened with Mandalorian, right? Whereas Andor, I think we're still on the front side of the curve here. Anyway, Andor season 2, what does it launch, Justin? You're my time guy. April 22nd. That's the
Yes.
first 3 episodes. Yeah. As we look forward, now we're going to look backwards, and we are going to talk about what I think may be the best arc of Andor season 1. I mean, I don't know. We thought the last arc was really, really good.
Yeah.
All the Aldani heist, but
It's hard.
the prison one I think is really, really good. So 3 episodes, episodes 8, 9, and 10. Narkina 5, Nobody's Listening, and One Way Out. Yep, those are the names. Not
Yes.
only does this have some of the best scenes, but when we get to episode 10, we teased it earlier, one of the best monologues ever on TV. So, Justin, why don't you kick us off, man? What was your vibe around this section of the season?
Man, like you said, it's very difficult. Is this the best one? Is the last one the best one? There's like, it's almost like you can't lose. All of these arcs are great, but which one is your personal favorite? I think it just depends on your life situations and everything. I actually got a chance to attend a screening of these 3 episodes. I won a contest on collider.com. And so all I had to do was just get out to LA, and I went into the Disney lot, the studio lot, and Andy Serkis was there. Also, the writer was supposed to be there, but this shows you the time period. The writer's strike was just about to happen at midnight. So
Mm.
instead, he went to go start writing season 2 of Andor instead of being at this screening with us. So it was actually only Andy Serkis, but he was great. There was a Q&A afterwards, and it was a great experience. Not only did I love this arc when I saw it on TV, but when I saw it in the Disney like studio in the screening, Andy Serkis was there. People were dressed up in Narkina 5 outfits and chanting One Way Out. It was a great experience. It
That's
was
so
like
cool.
Comic-Con, or it was like seeing something opening night, like a big MCU movie. So I
Hey,
had a
Vactor,
great.
real quick, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So, how's bragging camp going?
It's great. I
I'm just
love
kidding.
it.
I'm just kidding.
I'm so
I
jealous right now.
wish more people would have had a chance. I wish I could have brought everybody with me, but I actually got a chance to bring my wife, and we had a great time. So that was a core memory for me. It was a great experience, and
What
like I
was
said,
crazy is he says he brought his wife, but really I just dressed up like his wife
Yes.
and showed up because I really wanted to be there. And
so I did bring you, Shoff. I
yeah,
did bring
I
you.
mean, I didn't want to say anything at first, but I didn't want Kevin to feel bad. But yeah, no, it was awesome. I had an awesome time. He wined and dined me, and it was a really nice night in the hotel room later. I'm just saying.
Wait a
Mm.
minute.
Mm.
Oh, that was a
Mm.
great night, I will say, and it
The
just
force is
speaks
what
to.
binds us. Penetrates. Mm.
This is what Andor truly is. Just like, again, what Kevin said, the writing, what Shaw said, the acting, the performances, the cinematography looks like a movie cinematic, and the core of rebellion and shaping who Andor is over this first season. All these arcs just are slowly laying brick by brick what he becomes in Rogue One. And this prison one was fantastic, man. I love the premise of it, and also kind of the thematic elements of oppression and keeping your thumb on the little man, and how does the empire kind of keep all these people subservient and wipe out the hope that they have. It Man, everything in this arc was fantastic to me. And Schaff actually, specifically, when Kevin and I were talking about doing this series of
Mhm.
Andor, Schaff said, "Give me the prison arc. I want the
Yes.
prison arc." So,
Yes.
Schaff, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
Before you jump into this, I got to ask one question to the group, and I was going to save this for, but since Schaff is here, I have to ask it because he's one of the perfect people to address this question,
Okay, I'm
and we
worried.
can hold it till later too. But like we
He
keep
likes to
going on
hold
and
it.
on about how
I was gonna say
Andor
that.
is this phenomenal character study, right? And I think what we're witnessing is almost a new way of doing a singular character within a franchise for streaming media while enhancing the franchise itself in the process. And so my question would be is what other Star Wars characters would we like to see have the Andor treatment?
Interesting.
Man.
So
Well,
characters we've already seen, but
It could
have
be
them get
it could be a character that we haven't met yet. It could be a character that we've seen in one of the films or show, any of the properties that are canon. We'll
hmm,
call it the Disney the current canon, non-legends.
I was
interesting.
gonna say my funny answer is Wilro Hood, who you see for, I don't even know if it is a second of screen time, but he is in Empire Strikes Back for a half a second, I think. You blink and you miss him, and he's carrying an ice cream maker, and it became something
That
where the
guy.
fans
Oh,
took it,
yeah.
and they have the running of the Wilro Hoods at Comic Cons and Star Wars things where they all bring their ice cream makers and they all line up in a row. That character has like this fan following, and there's been like little stories, short stories, and stuff about him that have come out because of his popularity. So give me the Wilro Hood show. Give me the Andor treatment on Wilro Hood. Shaw, who would you want to see get the Andor treatment?
Well, if can I so a funny one or a serious one?
Yes.
A funny one would be the guy in the Mos Eisley cantina who's like, "I have the death sentence in 12 systems. I'll be cautious. You'll be dead." I want to see his like criminal rise to infamy. I think that would, or like a making the band cantina band. I think like that would be fun. But I think if I was like being serious, there's a character in the sequel trilogy that I really, really enjoyed. And I don't feel like we really got enough time to really understand like him as a person. And that's Poe Dameron. I think that
Ooh, yes.
a story about like him coming into his own as a pilot, like it could even be sort of like Top Gun esque, in terms of it being more focused on piloting skills. And he definitely knows the guy on Jakku. Was it on Jakku? The one who the older man who had the
Yes. Loris Sinteca is his name.
yeah.
Let me see. What planet
I
was
like
that?
they have
Yeah.
a report. Like there's a history there. Definitely, he was with BB-8. Like he knows BB-8 better than the rest of them. So I would just say like I would want to know more about that story. I think like he would be a really interesting character to explore. And Oscar Isaac is an amazing actor, so he would be a great one to get a chance to see more of what makes Poe Dameron tick.
Yes, it was Jakku that he died on.
Okay, cool.
Spoiler alert.
So I
So
think my
Shav, you
answer.
said
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Vactor.
Shav said Lord Santeca would be his choice.
I like that one.
Kevin, who would your choice be?
So I have three. One is I lied when I said we can't choose a Legends character. I'm going Dash Rendar because he's just my favorite
Ooh,
Star Wars
that's so
character.
good.
I just think it would be cool. I'm going with that one.
I want to see
I
the Outrider on screen. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
want a Poe Felicity Carrie Russell sort of series. What was her character? I forgot
Yes.
the name of it with the helmet, the weird helmet.
Yeah. The
Her name
helm.
was Hottie McHotterson.
She was Stunning Stunnerson, yes. Whatever her name was, not memorable in The Rise of Skywalker, but I knew it was Carrie Russell. That one, and then I would also like a Luthen Rael series. I
Yeah.
think if they just had a Stellan Skarsgård series that leads up to when we meet him in Andor, I'd be so down for
Yes.
that.
Zori Bliss was her name.
Zori
Zori
Bliss. So a Zori Poe sort of pre resistance story would be
I would watch
cool.
that. Yep.
And then, yeah, a Luthen Rael, if that's how you pronounce his last name, I don't care. But
Yes.
A Luthen series, I think would be just pretty fascinating.
Man, that would be amazing. And Stellan Skarsgård, come on, we need more. We need more.
So, Andor, the prison arc, it's a turning point in his journey, right? That's what we were talking about earlier. So, I think for me, some of the themes that this particular piece of his arc explore, we get oppression and beauty and brutality rather, resilience and solidarity, and we get moral complexity. Like those are the three kind of themes that we get to see. But for me, it's almost like this is the jump from being that like individual survivor, self-serving kind of guy to he's now this committed fighter. He's now okay, I understand this rebellion now. I understand what it means. It's not just about me, you know. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, you know. Like when you hear that line now, it's like we've talked about this on previous episodes, Justin. Everything that we're seeing is enhancing that scene in Rogue One,
Yes.
right? And that's what I think I love. That's what I love about this in exploring these things. Is that when these streaming shows can enhance material that we've already gotten. I thought Rebels did the same thing. I thought Bad Batch. I thought the Clone Wars. All of those things I feel like have enhanced the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and that's what Marvel is desperately trying. That's what they want. Yeah, right now with the MCU and they're just not getting a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a separate
Well,
podcast, but I think Marvel's also got hit with just the pre-COVID writer strike, post Endgame
Yeah,
hullabaloo.
right.
yeah, I mean, what's
Sharp, what were you saying?
interesting about Andor's sort of character development and his arc in this particular section of the season is, his incarceration is absolutely the result of his involvement with the Aldani heist, even though he's not being found guilty of the Aldani heist. It's just the crackdown on the procedures and on sentencing and all of that the empire does just to sort of, that's their response to the Aldani heist, and he ends up, suffering as a result of that inadvertently, which is so interesting to me because he needed something to be the catalyst for him, and that's what this is.
Mhm.
Even and so he's this unwilling participant and sort of finds his calling while imprisoned. But I think the most ironic and interesting part about the whole thing is that in episode 8 you've got Supervisor Miro, who's trying to campaign and trying to gain influence with the rest of the ISB, and she's trying to persuade her supervisors to support these efforts to find Andor. Like their whole goal is find him so they can basically like, turn that screw and interrogate him so they can find access, which is their ultimate goal. But the so ironic thing about it is that they've already captured Andor, and he's, on
Mhm.
their he's imprisoned and part of their labor workforce, but they don't even know that, and that's just proof of the problems with the empire, that
Yes.
they can be this massive entity and have so many blind spots that they are searching for a guy that they've already captured. Like I think
Right.
that is so funny and so symbolic of why the empire is destined to fail, and how it just takes, like Luthen talks about, like it just takes this little turning of this screw and this turning of this screw and things will fall apart. And that's, I think, like what this arc does is it forces Andor to become part of the solution, but also it showcases how feeble and how fragile the empire actually is.
Yeah. And it's that quote that he had at the beginning of they're so proud of themselves, so fat and satisfied.
That's
Yes.
right.
And again, that's the hubris of the empire. They don't think they can be beat. They don't think an iceberg can sink the Titanic. We've got the Death Star, we've got this huge army, we've got, all the technology in the world, but then you're beaten by these people who are more motivated than you. It goes back to like the George Lucas. He talks about like this is the Viet Cong versus the Americans. Like there's a whole political backstory behind it. But I think you're 100% right, Schaff. Is this arc shows you, if you think about where he was at the beginning of the prison arc, and he like didn't want to be there. All these people are like, we are we are in it. We are like they didn't want him to come on because it's like changing the plans and who is this guy? We've been here for months and he's just now coming in. And then he on his side, like he doesn't necessarily believe in the cause as much as they do. By the end of this prison arc, it's like this is 100% he's on board, and you it took that to mold him and to shape him.
Yeah.
So very important arc in his story.
Shoff, you one thing you pointed out that I thought was interesting, and I hadn't thought of it until you said it, was when you had mentioned that they were all looking for Andor and he was like right there already in prison. It was like they
Yeah.
had him. And for me, I feel like that's a little bit of a commentary on bureaucracy, right?
Yeah.
Like when
Exactly.
bureaucracies hit a tipping point, right? The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and the right hand doesn't know what
Exactly.
the left hand is doing. And that also leads to catastrophic failures, everywhere, because everybody in that bureaucracy starts to become very self-serving, which you see with the
Yeah, it's all
Imperial
ego.
Security
Yeah.
Bureau, right? It's like, and that's cultural, right? Like that's cultural of like the emperor himself, right? Because he's the ultimate selfish a-hole, so it's like, well, everybody else is going to be. And what's cool is, going back to the season 2, looking forward for a minute, we're going to get more Ben Mendelsohn's, Admiral Krennic, you
Yes.
know so that's
Yes.
going to be cool. Don't choke on your ambition, yeah.
Actually, my wife, when she saw him, that was when, like, she had been watching the trailer and she was like, "Oh, this is okay." As soon as she saw Ben Mendelsohn, she's like, "What?" Because she loved him in Rogue One. That was like one of her favorite parts of Rogue One. So when she saw him in this trailer, she was like, "Okay."
So a couple of quick lines that I just want to throw at you
Yeah.
guys that I like. So power doesn't panic, right? Andor says that in episode 8 and Arcana 5. It's a defining line, right? I think that he's growing his understanding of the Empire's mindset, right? Kina Loy, they don't need to care. They just need the floor to run. And that's when he starts to kind of realize the system doesn't care about them at all. And then in episode 10, One Way Out, where he's having his rallying speech, Kina Loy, again played by the great Andy Serkis, there is one way out. I'd rather die trying to take them down than giving them what they want. And then he says, I can't swim, which is really
Oh,
sad.
that's so
So,
heartbreaking.
yeah, very heartbreaking. I don't know which scene's more heartbreaking, that or the old man. What was it?
Uh,
The
Ul-
oh gosh.
Ulat?
Yeah, Ulaf.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, just a heartbreaking moment from the frail old prisoner. Man, wow.
There was some great moments in here, and this really made me happy because Andy Serkis was so good as Snoke, and then they didn't do anything with him. Like he was there was a great setup in episode 7, and his performance was fantastic. Like he always does. His motion capture, like I said, I've always said he needs to win some type of lifetime achievement award for the motion capture stuff he's done with Gollum, with King Kong, with Caesar,
Planet of the Apes,
with
yeah, all of it.
yeah, with everything he's done. It's like this just pick one of those things and it's an amazing performance, but his body of work and he still hasn't been recognized because people don't see motion capture as acting and it's like this is guy is an
Yeah.
amazing actor. And so seeing him in this prison arc, it was like, yes, we get to see him, his face, we get to see like his performance and give him his flowers. This guy is great. He's been great. And we can swipe the Snoke stuff aside. This is like he got a great role in Star Wars. So I
Question:
really
do
like
you
that.
think that we'll see him in season 2? Do we think he's
I'm
still
f
alive?
I'm 50-50 on that
Yeah.
because I can see both ways. Like, they didn't specifically show his body or they didn't like, it was left open. So I'm like, "Maybe?" And you would really be passing up a chance, like, to get another great performance out of Andy Serkis. So I'm gonna say, because I'm positive and optimistic, yes, we will see him again, and we're gonna get another great Andy Serkis performance.
Do you guys think in season 2 we're gonna see Ahsoka show up? Because if you remember in the Rebels series, she was fulcrum and very instrumental in kind of helping shape the quote alliance, right? The
Yes.
Rebel Alliance. And I think at this point in time, it is still very much factioned rebel factions, because we saw Luthen in episode, was it episode 8, right? So we're talking about that one where
Mhm.
he goes to Saul and he's trying to convince him to join the alliance and create a more larger organized rebellion, but there's just
Interesting.
not a lot of
Yeah.
trust between the different factions yet. So I have wondered, like, will we see Ahsoka show up?
That would make sense, especially with the Rebels storylines
Yeah,
and her
yeah.
involvement with that. Yeah, that does seem likely.
And even
That would be pretty
I
Hera
would
cool.
love that.
potentially, like this is
Yeah.
Yes,
maybe a
yeah.
way to tie in this show
And that would
to
be so great. Holy crap.
The Ahsoka series. I know, right? I'm like, oh my god, I'm touching myself. Um,
It's possible we could see Ezra. This is around the Rebels time period. Like
the
we could very much
Ghost.
see
Yeah,
Ahsoka. All the Rebels crew could be on here. And
My gosh. A Kanan Jarrus in live action. Holy
Freddie
moly.
Prinze,
Freddie
Freddie
Yeah.
Prince
Prinze,
You
get
know
him
with the
in
what?
there.
Uh,
ponytail.
I wanted to
Yeah,
ask because season one, there's this arc that's sort of hanging, which is Andor's sister. Do
Yeah,
you think we'll
yeah,
have
right.
resolution
I
about
think we
that in
will.
season two?
I think we
Yes,
will.
Where
I
yep.
think
he'll
it'll
have
actually
a
be in the
reunion?
first. I think it'll be the first 3 episodes we get.
There was a shot in the trailer where Andor's hugging this girl with like sort of curly-ish long hair, and it didn't look like anybody that we've seen before. It didn't look like Bix. So I was like, could that be his sister? Like, is he found? Like, I really want them to have that. I hope that doesn't. It's not just where she died, or and there was no resolution or something. Like, I hope that he does have that resolution, because at no point is it even referenced after the beginning, really.
Yeah, I think this is the Tony Gilroy. I don't think they're going to leave it. I think they have a plan and they specifically are going to do that. But I did see some speculation that that was Bix. I don't know 100%
Oh, okay.
if it is or not, but yeah, it would make sense either way to me if it was his sister or if it was Bix. But yeah, definitely, I really like that shot of the trailer.
So we've talked a lot. It's funny. We've talked a lot about Andor. We've talked a lot about his character in these episodes. But it would be remiss if we didn't talk about Luthen for a second,
Mhm.
because episode 10, No Way Out, or One Way Out, excuse me, has one of the greatest TV speeches, maybe
Yes.
even just speeches in cinema that you would ever find and hear, and delivered by a masterclass actor in Stellan Skarsgård, who I've met in person. Yes, I'm name dropping.
Hey,
I don't care. So
you dropped something
really,
on the floor there.
yeah, really, really swell guy. But I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. I mean, that's just number one. That's poetry. Like that's a beautiful.
It rhymes.
It's the chef's kiss.
That
Uh,
was great, fantastic.
and it
Yeah,
just keeps going. Like I got to pull it up here for a second because it's like
Yeah, one of my favorite lines in there. I've made my mind a sunless place.
mm,
Guys, that is
mm.
some good writing right there.
I wonder how long it took the writer to pen that, and like where they had to
yeah,
go.
that would be interesting to get a
I'm
behind the
damned for
scenes on
what I
that.
do.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah, that was like when that moment was happening, it was like, dude, how do they keep getting better? How does a show continue to just get better and better? And it's coming at the tail end of the season here. Man, I just continue to think like how did they do it and how did they put all these things together to make such a masterful show for this first season? And man, I hope season 2 can live up to this what they put down in season 1 cuz it's a high bar that they've set.
Yeah.
I think
It's
they will because they've taken the time to make it
Yes, yep.
happen.
So what
I
do I
agree.
do? Sacrifice everything. That's what we have to do, guys. To sacrifice
Yes.
everything. Man, I got to take a minute. That's good. I think
Let it breathe.
I would probably say that the third most underrated character in just the season in general that we continue to see also through this is Mon Mothma.
Mm,
I really love her character arc in this too, and I don't think it gets as much airtime as maybe Luthen and Andor and obviously some of the surprise ensemble cast. I'm excited to see what's in store for her during season 2. So this is the best Star Wars we've gotten under Disney. There's no doubt. If I have to end the podcast on that line, that's where I would say it. This is the best we've gotten. And it's all credit to the Gilroys. It's all credit to Tony Gilroy and his team and his vision. And for, Kathleen Kennedy doesn't get a lot of credit with the fans, but it feels like she stayed out of the way on this one. and the producers stayed out of the way on this one because I think they knew what they had. I mean, when you have like the Ringers Watch podcast and all these other like, you know, drink your cosmos and, we only talk about the good highfalutin TV shows, masterpiece theater as we call it. When they're talking about Andor in high esteem, you have something. And I think that's really, really cool. And if they were wise, as much as and I've said this on every podcast I've ever gone on, I'll say it here. They should give Star Wars to Gilroy. I mean, all of it. Give all of it. Make him the Feige. Let him put a book together. Let him put a Bible together. Let him see where he can take this.
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
Let him cook now.
Let Filoni partner with him and be that sort of canon guide and the sort of, Salacious Crumb would never do that. It's like he can kind of be that guy. You never mind. We'll just roast him on a spit in episode 4. But my point being is like, let somebody like Gilroy take Star Wars and see what he could do with it. Quit messing around. Let's just do it. So anyway, that's my closing statement. I'm gonna let you guys have a closing statement, whether it be favorite moment, favorite scene, favorite quote, or just anything you want to say. Shoff, you're our guest.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is no more Lizzo in Star Wars. Thank you.
She's not in Andor.
I know, but if she shows up in season 2, I freaking riot.
What about Jack Black?
Nope.
Okay.
I love Jack Black, but he does not belong in Star Wars either.
Does
No,
not
that
belong in
is
Star Wars either.
that whole thing was absolute crap. Yeah.
Well, I just got to say,
I've
the
almost
prison arc
forgotten
is
that he was in Star. That's wow. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
They blew their entire budget on one episode just on casting alone. That was ridiculous.
I got to say, the prison arc is one of my favorites. It's up there with the Aldani heist. There's something about the heist that it just edges it out a little bit for me.
The
But
visuals of
even-
the heist, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
The eye,
Yeah.
that's pretty sick. So,
But man, the Andy Serkis, he's the it factor for me on the prison arc. So yeah,
Kino Loy is
fantastic.
an amazing Star Wars character. Absolutely. I'm so glad. Yeah. Brilliant.
well, thank you everyone for joining us on Trust in the Force. Before we go, Shoff, tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find me in Western Washington.
Address
They can find me on Instagram at I am the Shoff. That's SHOFF. If you put a C in there, you can see me later.
Justin, you wanna close us out and tell everybody to subscribe and do all of those wonderful things?
Yeah, we have got some great stuff coming up. Andor season 2, as we've talked about, right around the corner, and we're going to have some great stuff coverage of season 2 coming up for you here on Trust in the Force. And also, don't forget, on our YouTube channel, we're doing some character bios. I've got Mon Mothma up, I've got Luthen up, and Saw is on the way. So we've got some nice stuff for you to check out on our YouTube channel. But we love talking Star Wars here on Trust in the Force, and we would be honored if you would join us and subscribe and like and tell your friends. Share us.
Thank you. Peace out, everybody.